It's been a long grind for these guys after the 6 weeks of summer school, and we've been at it now for a couple of months and everything. We've got a countdown clock that is sat behind my administrative assistant's desk as you walk into the office, and those days are coming down now to the wire, your first home opener. So guys are getting excited. I think at this time you get so tired of playing against each other and doing things in a practice format, even when in our closed-door scrimmage, to have it more of a moving guys in and out of the game and different rotations and things like that. You can tell there's an anxiousness to want to get going and want to get to playing. So it would be nice to get going and play another common opponent and really kicking off the season next week.
Yeah, Coach, you guys played against a pretty good mid-major in Montana in that closed scrimmage. What did you see from you guys first time playing together in that type of environment that pleased you?
The fight that they had and their ability to go through adversity in and out of that game and really do a nice job of keeping their composure, regaining their energy and all of those things, particularly the new guys, because there were several times where we would have one vet on the floor and four new guys. Two vets on the floor and three new guys. And I thought they did a really good job of handling themselves against a really good veteran Montana team that took you out of offense. They did some things. They pressured. They trapped you. They did a lot of things for us to work on, and we did a nice job of adjusting, adapting throughout the course of the game. So I was really pleased with our production. I was really pleased with our composure as well in an environment where we can work on a lot of different things.
And maybe the other end of that spectrum, what did you see that you guys need to work on?
I would say the understanding the possession by possession readiness, sense of urgency that you have to play with for those new guys. And even though throughout the game they did a nice job of adjusting, adapting to that and overcoming that, they were really good with that. But that's just something they need to understand. It's going to be like that every night. I don't care who you're playing, because if you're playing anybody in the preseason, it's going to be a big deal for them to beat any Pac-12 level school. So you're going to get an energized team that you're going to have to obviously be able to neutralize. And then when you talk about Pac-12 play, whether it's at home or on the road, every game is going to be an intense, tough Pac game as well too. So that's a big adjustment for our new guys to make, but they're well on their way towards making that adjustment. Just because I think they're a tougher group than we've had here before, tougher mentally and physically.
What's been stressed as the top priority so far in practice that you need to I know that sort of defense has been key. Where do you guys need to start, or where have you started, and where do you need to continue?
We've really started with the fundamentals of guarding the ball and then the assisting of guarding the ball as well too. And we've really jumped around with multiple defenses, which doesn't make you extremely comfortable that you're really, really, really good with either one yet, but yet we feel like we needed to do that because we're going to be a team that can play different ways. And the scout will dictate what particular game that you're going to play this style of defense versus another, and yet you have the flexibility to be able to do that has been a good thing. So we've really emphasized the intensity of getting 3 stops in a row, 4 stops in a row. I think there are times in our scrimmage we had 8 stops in a row, things like that. Those have been big factors for us because that defense will trigger our offense, particularly this team is so good in transition.
Yeah, so matching, Montana, obviously a quicker team. What was it like for you to kind of be a mad scientist with your bigs specifically? Because you can bring out a different team depending on the matchup, like you were just saying, with your big specifically, like Arenze. You could go to Devontae. I mean, what did you see from that kind of rotation?
Actually, what I saw was our quickness. Ahmed is going to be a matchup nightmare for anybody, and because of his quickness, court savvy, energy, ability to score. He had a stretch where he made, I think it's 10 or 11 straight points in a row. That's hard to do with a guy that size, and then turn around and pick up the ball and play it from baseline to baseline defensively. Gives you an idea of the kind of pressure he can put on opposing guards offensively and defensively. Viante was great in the game, just right where he took off from last year. He's been that way in practice as well, too. But Renze can guard any position on the floor. He guarded their point guards, where he sat down in a stance 30 feet from the bucket, and they could not get around him. So our quickness is excellent. When we really have we have a different kind of grit in terms of doing some things this year that allows us to do that. So Isaiah is another one of those guys, Isaiah Wade, that can guard away from the bucket and do things like that too. And I just felt like overall from Robert Franks to Isaiah, Coop, Jeff, all of our bigs, what we need for them to do, they did a pretty good job. Now, some adjustments we're going to have to make. I saw coming away from the game. We want to trap the post more. We want to trap some ball screens more. We want to jump around defensively a little bit more against teams of that caliber, and we'll be able to do that. So it was a good opportunity to see where we're at, and a good opportunity to throw some things and work on some things, and a great opportunity to be able to come out of it and make some adjustments on some things as well. But quickness was not one of them. I was not worried about with that kind of length, you've got athletes. C.J. Ellerby is a tremendous athlete. Isaiah Wade, tremendous athlete. Renzi, outstanding athlete as well, too. So even though they're in that 6'6" to 6'8", 6'9" range, Jazz is an athlete. They can still get down in stances and guard smaller players. And they're so long, you might even have a step on them, but they can affect the shot and their ability to recover because of their athleticism and their length.
You guys obviously brought in a ton of new guys. Have you done anything to improve the team cohesion at a quicker pace?
The biggest thing that we've done in terms of cohesiveness and pace is really work away from the floor. We brought in Dr. Joe Carr, who is a graduate of Washington State, sports psychologist that works with a ton of college teams, NBA teams. He's probably done 60 teams in the last 3 years. I think he did 18 teams since he left us in June, and he's come back to us again for another visit and everything. And what he does with you as a unit is trust. Trust in your teammate, trust in your coaches, trust in each other, trust in that ability to give the ball up, spread the floor, and do some things like that. But it's all centered around cohesiveness, a unit, playing together, cheering for each other, being on the same page. And when you do that, we have players that have feel, that know the game. And now it's a matter of playing with tremendous energy and pride. And when you do that, that allows you to play faster. I think when you look at this team, you'll see that the ball moves a lot more freer. It doesn't stick in people's hands as much. You'll see it moving in the half court and in transition. You'll see us making more long court down the floor basketball plays versus dribbling at the length of the floor. That's the thing that'll make us appear and actually make us faster, because we can stretch the floor quicker because our ability to get the ball up sooner, and more guys that get out and run now. More guys on this team can go run lanes, fill lanes, and go dunk on people. So they like to get out and run to get a dunk. Well, that makes you faster.
When you look at the team leader this season, obviously, the first guys you look to are Robert Franks and Viante Daniels. What have you seen from those two specifically as more vocal? What have you seen from their leadership attributes?
I think that you can be vocal leaders. You can be a quiet, calm leader and lead by example. All of those things, I think, encompasses both of those guys. The team has definitely, as a team, chosen those two guys as their leaders, but more importantly, they have listed as a team what leadership needs to look like and what they need to get from them. And those two have accepted that leadership role and accepted what it needs to look like, and accepted that they will bring that and give that to the team. And there's a pretty extensive list there of things, but they're not things that are complicated at all. But they're certainly things you have to buy into, be willing to lead, be willing to accept leadership. And this team, in fact, that was the focal point that we've really focused on here in the last few days. That buy-in piece of that. Now, they've done a good job of that for us in identifying our leaders, what they need to lead in, and willingness to let them lead them as well as a basketball team.
And out of those JUCO guys, I know some people maybe seem a bit unheralded, just being JUCO guys in general. But how key were those pickups? I know that was a huge JUCO class there.
They filled some big holes for us, and they gave us some much needed. What I always come back and use this word again, 2 words: energy and toughness is the best thing that they have filled. Toughness to be gritty on the floor, to get after it, to get after loose balls, get after rebounds, make the tough blockouts, make the tough play. We needed that piece. Certainly, in terms of the energy, their athleticism allows them to play at a different pace and have a different motor on the floor. We needed that. So it's given us an opportunity to be longer, more athletic, faster, more energized. We don't have as much girth, as I would say, thickness, as maybe some of the teams we're going to play against. That's where a guy like Devontae Cooper and even James Streeter, that's where they have to be called upon in those moments or stretches where that size is a factor for us. And then there are going to have to be some things we do defensively to offset as well, too. And on the other side of it, however, whoever has that player on the floor is going to have to guard our speed and quickness up and down the floor as well, too, and ability to spread the floor.
As a player, you're always looking to find that extra gear that you can work on heading into the off season and into your next season. As for Robo, obviously we know about his off season, and he got to play against some NBA players over the summer at those UCLA runs, Montrezl Harrell, Blake Griffin, to name a few. What do you think that did for him that he can build on going into this year?
Well, 2 things I think Robo got out of the summer after speaking with him. Number one, having the opportunity to go through a tryout with a few NBA teams, and those teams being really upfront and real with him in terms of strengths and weaknesses, what they saw, what he needs to work on, and their ability and confidence in his ability to play at that level, if these areas were to be improved and everything, was really good for him to not only hear, but have them in workouts with other players and actually competing and seeing the intensity of the NBA game, the NBA workout. The second piece was not only playing against a few of those players, because I don't know how much he played against an NBA guy, but I know he did a little bit, but actually be up close and personal, see those guys play, and see them play during the off season and see how hard they play. And the case in point that I know he told me one particular story was Russell Westbrook, how hard he played in a pickup game environment and yet still brought his A game, brought the juice, as we call it. And I thought that was very significant for him to see and experience somebody wanting to be at that level, to see that type of focus in a workout coming from NBA personnel, coaches and things, what they needed from him, and then to see an NBA player during an offseason, how hard those guys work and how hard this is geared to being a business for them, their livelihood in terms of taking care of their body, improving their game from day to day, week to week.
All right, any more questions?
On the position, I know there's some position battles with these new guys in there. What are those competitions looking like? Which spots are kind of up for grabs between guys right now?
Well, the biggest thing, I think, the point guard position is a constant battle. And even though it's a battle, both of them are going to play. We've got 2 really solid point guards. And in time, one will elevate over the other without me having to do that. The only thing we've done is set the parameters of what the position needs to be, and they go at it. They're doing a nice job of making each other better and holding each other accountable every single day. And then when you talk about the C.J. Ellerby, Carter Skaggs, Jazz on that side of the ball, on that side, that position, those guys are battling like crazy because their CJ is positionless, Jazz is positionless. They can play the point on a rebound push. They can play the 4. They can play the 2, 3. Jazz can play the 5. They can play a lot of positions, and therefore their flexibility is really good. and Carter is a little bit more two-dimensional, as I can call it, because he can shoot and put it on the floor. But those are just big battles over there every day going at each other, which is making all of those players so much better. And even they get after Deontay. I mean, Deontay is going to be a better player because having to go against C.J. Ellabry every day, having to go against Marvin Cannon every day, those are long-armed athletes that can put the ball on the floor, that can shoot jump shots, that can go rebound. They're holding each other accountable to defending, getting back in transition, blocking out, just because the competitive nature all over the floor. Arinze Cheatham gives Robert Franks everything he can handle every day. Every day he comes at Robert Franks, and he's elevating Robo's game because he has to compete every day against somebody of that caliber, and he has to bring his A game. So I love our individual battles within the team. Isaiah Wade and Jeff Potter. I mean, it's very difficult for Jeff to keep up with Isaiah because Isaiah is a motor, he's an athlete, he's a dunker, he's a ferocious rebounder. Well, it's going to make Coop and Jeff a lot better having to play against a guy who right now today has been by far our best rebounder on the team at 6'6". So all of those battles are making us better day to day, but we're definitely ready to play somebody else right now and move through those battles and see how the rotation falls in the line.